Welcome to TechConnect. Today we're going to talk about broadcast video and how it's reshaping live stream content. And also we're going to talk about video production and distribution and some new trends that are coming up. I'm very excited today to have a special guest and subject matter expert, Corey Behnke from LiveX. LiveX is a very exciting video production company based out of New York City. Welcome to TechConnect, Corey. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, David.
So just to kick it off, so I really appreciate your time. I know you're an expert in this, and your team's an expert at live streaming and all things video at LiveX. First, let's give me a little background on yourself, talk a little bit about the company and what you've been up to.
Yeah, so we are a live streaming services company. We're based in Brooklyn, New York, and also Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm coming to you live from Green Bay, Wisconsin right now, and in our remote broadcast facility. So we actually focus on 4 areas: system integration for our clients, building studios, building content for them, and then live field services. So, going to your event, producing it multi-camera, and then also studio and facility. So we have a studio in Brooklyn and a studio in Green Bay, and then we have a facility in Green Bay, 4 remote master control rooms and a master control room, as well as in New York, where we can basically do remotes from all over the world.
Oh, that's great. Tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the business? What's your background?
It's a funny story. I started as a PA on New Year's Eve in Times Square, and I've been doing it for 26 years, and I've been able to kind of take all my companies with it. Back in 2002, I was a production assistant, and I, just kept freelancing, working. I ended up working as head of production for Livestream.com. And I got into streaming right around 2006. And then when Livestream was about to be acquired by Vimeo, I started LiveX in 2015. And here we are almost 11 years later.
Yeah, oh, that's great. So I'm really curious, from your view, a lot of things have changed. We see a lot of research on the amount of streaming content that's being consumed. There's a lot of data out there. I mean, there's more options for consumers to consume media over different channels. And as an expert in the Pro AV and the video production space, technology has been rapidly changing for you guys as well. Kind of in your view, what's going on in the last couple of years, in the last 5 years, from a broadcast video perspective?
I mean, I think the main thing that changed is that consumers want more authentic content, and brands are wanting to give them more authentic content. And what I mean by that, you see a lot of straight to camera, direct to camera, phone, and other content. I think also the rise of remote. I think, like this podcast we're doing right now, yes, people were doing that more than 5 years ago, but it was pretty specialized. It was a live view or Skype, if anybody remembers that. And so, the rise of Zoom and the rise of Google Meet and Microsoft Teams, I think, has kind of opened up, and people using more web conferencing and video conferencing software. I think we basically have more of that is the type of content that's being delivered almost every day. And so I think some of the biggest changes are our quick adoption as a society and as a culture globally to remote and to the idea of remote. And then also with that in tandem, this idea that, we can do things cloud as versus on-prem. Like I'm sitting here in an on-prem facility, with multiple master control rooms, remote master control rooms. But you've really seen in the last 3 or 4, 5 years, a rise in the adoption from a production standpoint of utilizing cloud, for production.
Yeah, maybe let's dive into that a little bit as well. I mean, in these situations like you're talking about, I mean, you're producing content for customers and clients from different locations completely. Teams are spread about. When it comes to cloud technology, how is that? What specifics? How is that specifically enabling teams to collaborate and to develop content in new ways?
So, it's been pretty amazing to me to watch this happen. I mean, I remember in 2017, 2018, thinking about it and doing some, about 10% of our business was remote production, and that was using on-prem SRT production back and forth. US Open, USGA was one of our clients for the US Open. And we were able to kind of, we saw the cost savings from a recurring standpoint. And when you open up the cloud, I mean, one of the things I always say is one of the immediate things for us is when we're live streaming, typically your client wants to go to multiple endpoints. So for instance, a client might say, hey, I want to go to my YouTube, my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my Facebook, my Instagram, all of the things, right? TikTok Live. We're actually doing multiple TikTok Lives for both Major League Baseball and the NBA, which is kind of a blooming business of doing vertical live content. And what the cloud really did for us was, instead of, as I have multiple endpoints, so let's say I want to go to 8 different destinations, a lot of times you're eating up bandwidth on site to do that, or you're having to bring a lot of hardware to the dance. And so what we really found is, hey, I can bring a primary and backup encoder, I can send it to the cloud, and then I can have an encoding engineer and encoding monitoring in a facility. I don't have to have those people on site. So I can save, labor, time, field, travel, all those kind of things for my client. And also, we used to charge extra for every encoder. So, one encoder per 3 platforms. By utilizing the cloud, we can really save our clients a lot of money, and we can turn on a lot of destinations. And why that's important is, for instance, we were the streaming producer for the Democratic National Convention last year. Well, they had 157 endpoints. It's the most endpoints I've ever done for a stream. And that can be like, a main program with Spanish to YouTube, and then a main program to a principal's YouTube, Barack Obama's YouTube, right? For instance. And so we did 157 endpoints. So doing my encoder math, that would have taken 50 encoders to do that, even though it's the same program. So by utilizing the cloud, we can really distribute the workload for those 157 endpoints, have multiple encoding monitors, and they don't all have to be on site in Chicago, housed, fed, hoteled, right? They can be in their own kind of area. They show up for work every day, and they really, I think the cloud really, for us production nerds, I laugh. I did this GE live stream for livestream.com. It was at the Paris Air Show. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember being like, oh, I'm going to the Paris Air Show. And meanwhile, I'm in a booth in a small little closet at the Paris Air Show with a TriCaster producing this show, right? And I always joke that, like, every time us producers and broadcasters get to go somewhere, we're still in the same closet. We're still in the same dark room, right? And so I think that the cloud really, I talk about why we moved to Green Bay, and a lot of that is this term lifestyle savings. And I think the cloud and remote production, they open up lifestyle savings for those of us that have to go out on the road and do things. And there still are things where I think it's important to be on site. For instance, New Year's Eve in Times Square, I'm on site, even though that workflow is completely remote. So there's
Mhm.
still room for some people have to be on site and have to be there in person. But the cloud just opens up all these unique opportunities to do high level production in a kind of way that helps your human life, right? And not just your professional life.
So on that, with with people, because behind the scenes, right, we're all individuals who need to be able to deliver this, and the creativity, the artistry that still comes with video production. What are the, and it's highly technical. I mean, as you talked about now, like just the terms you're using and how all the different endpoints you got to get at all the different platforms, and so there's almost like there's the IT engineering side of this, and then there's the creativity, the production piece of it. I mean, what are those, the skills and kind of that mindset that you pass on to your team and your clients, even when you're giving them coaching and trying to walking them through complex projects like this?
Well, I think that, the important thing for someone in this field now is you want to learn the specialization, but there's more space to have to understand everything, right? Because as we move stuff to the cloud, as we have tighter budgets, have we have more technology doing things for us, it takes a different kind of mindset to, it's kind of like talking about AI that everybody's talking about now. It's similar with AI and cloud, where as machines do more for us, we have to use more of our actual machine inside of us to understand all of the things. What I kind of say, what I always tell my team is, hey, everyone is a producer. And what that means is, in my opinion, a good producer understands the assembly line edit that has to take place, so that at the end of the assembly line, I have this frame that happens, right? That happens either, 24 times a second or 30 times a second or whatever, 60 times a second. And I'm responsible. All of us as a team are responsible for that frame hitting every time. And the support of understanding what that assembly line edit needs at any point is up to everybody on the team. And what happens is, as you do more cloud and you do use more technology to help you, you have less humans. And so what I really encourage my team to do is like get away from the specialization. Understand what you have to do on a specialist need. If you're the graphics operator, or you're the playback operator, or you're the audio engineer, or the TD, but you really, more and more, you have to act like a producer and understand what the overall show needs at any given moment.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. I think it's fascinating. Of course, we're at Panasonic. We make hardware and software for broadcast video and all this stuff. But you're talking about like that whole end-to-end flow for different customers. And also being in marketing, and one that I want myself and my company, my team to produce really good content. There's the the factors of like thinking through like where is this all going to go from a content production perspective. And this is so much more than just shooting a quick video and putting that on YouTube. What are the, when you're talking to clients, what advice do you kind of give them to help set up and make sure that their project is a success? And I know, and I've seen your portfolio of work, which is fascinating, absolutely amazing. I wish I was in your business completely. The stuff that you do, whether it's the mapping, the live events, the streaming events, the keynote speeches, and all that stuff that you talked about, the air show. When you're talking to clients, how do you take a step back and work with them on what they want to get done and what they want to get accomplished? Because I suspect clients are also kind of overwhelmed with all the different technologies, and of course that's why they bring folks in like you who can really give that professional advice. How do you steer the conversation with your clients when it comes to production?
Well, I think that what I try to do is I try to take the technical aspect out of their hands and not really have them focus on that at all. I think there's two things that we really focus on right now. One is we're really focused on helping clients make content at level 1. So let's say live streaming is level 7 as an organization. We really want to get in on the ground floor. And what does that mean? One, it means trying to really convince companies to create a culture of video and if you see like our YouTube channel and the content that we create, it's really important that all of the employees, not just production producers, not just coordinating producers, but the admins, the support team, it's really important that everyone's on camera and everyone is part of the culture of making content. Where we really had some success with this is we recently produced Titletown Tech. It's a partnership with the Green Bay Packers and Microsoft. They had a startup draft where they gave one of 7 startups $1 million as part of the NFL draft. And one of the things I really encourage their team to do is, you know what? And I'm going to be putting talent out of business here, so sorry, talent. But I said, let's not hire a host. Let's not go outside. Let's have everyone in your organization be on camera for certain segments, so that what it does is we're in this authentic period, right? I call it performative authenticness. I say that out. But we're in this place where like people want authenticity. They don't want to hear from the spokesman of your brand. They want to hear from your brand. Well, what is your brand? They're the people that are in your organization. And so I think you're seeing this shift. And I always try to convince companies to get ahead of it, that you have to be creating content at all of the levels, live streaming, making TikToks, making vertical short form, making internal videos, all of these things. But it's really important that you're a part of it. And we go to outside agencies. You can come to places like LiveX to help you produce it. But it's really important to build video into your world. And so some of the ways are like using Zoom, using Teams. And I think people are already used to that. And I think when I go to places and I say, your all hands, your sales meeting, your investor meeting, what are you doing to elevate that? Like we're all sitting in Zoom, not all of us, but those of us that have been destined for this life are sitting in Zooms and Teams all day, right? We're used to these boxes that we're looking at and looking at faces. And what I always tell them is like, elevate that. If you're doing something important, how do you elevate it, right? Add lower thirds, add some graphics, really take the time to think about the outline and the messaging that you're trying to say. And that's what we're really good at helping companies kind of do that. We just did recently, we did a quarterly sales meeting for Dyson. We do a lot of conferences remotely where it's like, hey, how can we save you money by not having to have techs on the ground and it looking like it's just magically happening, but realistically it's happening in Green Bay. But also like, I think, we're a highly technical company and it's really important for us to dive into the culture of the company so that we can understand their content because, back to your earlier point, technology is only half the battle. It's like the creative and the content and what you're trying to say is really the whole point of everything we're trying to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think content's getting the quality of content? Like it's a question is like, what is high quality broadcast content anymore? And I think I don't want to answer the only question, but it kind of depends on who your audience is and what you're creating. Is it training material? Is it a product kickoff, like you said, or is it a commercial?
Yeah, it's a great
in
question.
your opinion, you do this all the time. Like, do you think it's getting better? Are we getting better at the quality from quality perspective, or?
I think that's a great question. Well, I think you have to define the word quality.
Yeah.
I think from messaging and culture, I think brands are getting better at it. I think what's funny, you and I don't know how old you are, but I'm old. I'm closer to 50 than I am to 30.
We're on the same page, yeah.
Well, you and I, we were brought up on the monoliths, right? We were brought up on ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, right? And so all of this content was at this extremely high level where tens of people, if not hundreds of people, are thinking about every frame. And now we live in this world where it's more authentic, it's more casual. And so the quality, I think that the quality is better from a messaging standpoint, but I think what we've learned is that the pixel quality and like if the audio is good, I always tell people this, right? Audio drives video. If your audio is good, your video can be trash. But if your audio is trash, your whole thing is trash, right? And so I think that we've gotten I don't know. I don't honestly, picture quality and audio quality is not better, but there's more ubiquitous content with more quality messaging and branding, meaning like, when you and if I wanted to learn about gardening, there wasn't a whole YouTube channel and all these videos for me to see. So there's a lot more quality there, but the actual quality of the videos, I don't think is necessarily better. It's almost like, I joke, it's like we have had shows where we have created a show and the client has said, this is too high of quality. We need to make this look crappier. So, really what they're getting at is authenticity, right? It's like if it looks too polished or it looks like you've spent too much time on it, it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's a funny question, it's a great question, but it's like, that's why I answer it that way,
Yeah. Oh, perfect. That's really good. I was having a dinner the other night with a friend my age as well. We're talking about the summertime and when kids are sitting in front of the TV during the summer a little bit more, right? And they got some downtime. And back when we were kids, we were watching. There was kids programming specifically for kids between certain hours, and then that was it. So you either watched Smurfs or you didn't. It wasn't like a choice. Right. So, I think that, so everyone's got their obviously own opinion about it, but it's just, we live in a different world now where there's all sorts of content. At any time you can do anything you want. You're not regulated to, certain content at certain days, times of the day. Example.
Well, we really are. It's funny. I know other people have said this. We really are the value has shifted from money to attention. Like the true currency of our culture is attention, which, it was before too. Like, I think what happened is we just rose, like the value of attention has risen.
Yeah. Wow, that's a very interesting way to see it. So, we talked a little bit about the technology and advice that you would give to customers. What's the in all of this, are there a couple of emerging technologies that you're seeing that you think are going to pick up and be used a lot in live streaming, in video production in general? Are there a couple things that you see down the road that are going to really help elevate it?
Yeah, I do. I've always been pretty forward looking on like where I always joke that we've always spent like $50,000 trying to make Live 360 a thing. And it's just a joke because it's like people still don't do Live 360, right? And so sometimes you can kind of be too ahead of like where you think a trend is going to be, and you're trying to surf a wave that isn't going to come. One of the examples is SMPTE 2110, right? So we were actually, I believe, we're the first U.S. customer of Kairos. We bought one of the first Kairos systems, and the reason for that was when the SMPTE standard came out in 2017 for 2110, I was like literally thought that the next year that every manufacturer would have a spigot on the back of their camera that was an Ethernet port for SMPTE 2110. Okay, that just happened last year. So that was about 7 years late on that. I do think broadcast does have a longer lead time on tech. Like people say tech changes all the time. Yes, Blackmagic comes out with a new camera. Like, yes, Panasonic comes out with new products all the time and tries to like capture where they are and where the thing is. But I do think the mix of 2110, Kairos is a good example. One of the coolest things that we do every year is New Year's Eve in Times Square. It's seen by over 7 million people. It's the official webcast for the ball drop. And that workflow is basically me in a truck taking 20 cameras, sending them up to our virtual video control room software. We then decode them in Brooklyn. So we decode all 20. We put them into Kairos. Kairos does all the playback graphics, all of the switching, our TD switches on that. We actually have a full studio with a TechnoPoint system and Panasonic UE150s and 160s. We have literally like 20 UE150s throughout the whole arsenal. They're one of our most favorite cameras. What's cool about that whole thing is we have our New York team, our Green Bay team, and me on the ground at New Year's, all working together over comms. And it's just it's beautiful in the sense of like, there is no production happening on the ground. It's all happening where everybody's like not cold, they're not like having to go to like the Porta John, they're just, it's nice. It's like, hey, we're like actual like nice workers having a nice time doing the show. And it's a 6.5 hour show. It's a slog, right? And so, the mixture of SMPTE 2110 and some of your cloud remote technologies, I do think that is a pathway, especially for really, the ability for resiliency, redundancy, all of the things that broadcasters, the highest level broadcasters are used to, getting to, some of the smaller companies like ours and even smaller AV vendors and other people, kind of like SMPTE 2110, I always say is like the high end version of, using Dante or using some of these other, NDI and some of these other, IP technologies. But it really does take everything we've done from a broadcasting standpoint when it comes to redundancy, resiliency, the ability to, do the things as a broadcaster, but do those things over the Ethernet. And I think those are the kind of things that, we really rely on.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what advice do you have? I mean, you've done a lot of work, huge portfolio. What advice do you have for organizations who may be considering doing their own live streaming events, their own live streaming content? What would you tell them to make sure that it turns out successful?
I mean, the number one thing I usually tell people is that this thing right here, the phone, that's I mean, it's crazy. Like it's insane where we've gotten to, but like I'm advising you not to hire us and use a phone. No. I always tell like 9 out of 10 live streams you can do on your own. It's okay, and you should, right? TikTok lives, Instagram lives, YouTube lives, they're fairly simple with free software like OBS, for instance. But you can stream directly from your phone or from some other type of. There are plenty of cameras out there nowadays, and they pretty much all stream. And the thing that I tell people about live streaming is understand why you're live streaming. Almost everything you can do it as live. And what that means is, you're doing a multicam, you set it all up multicam, and you do it as if it's live, but it gives you time to record everything and make sure it's all perfect. If you're going to do something live, I really encourage you to have an interactive feature, or you want to talk to customers in real time, or you want to create some kind of event or some kind of thing that is going to happen. So you really got to think about, why am I live, right? If you really think about in our industry, the only things that are really live are breaking news and sports that requires betting, because almost all sports, like golf, right? I always tell people, I'm like, golf, the only thing that's live is the intro with the announcers. And as soon as they start, you just saw a golfer 20 minutes ago, you just saw a golfer 40 minutes ago, right? So there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's just the reality, right? So I always tell clients, like, is there a compelling reason for you to say this? Now, a lot of times it's a PR event, or like I said, it's breaking news, and you want everyone to hear the information at the same time. And that's usually a driving, compelling thing. But even then, or like, if you are going to go as live but stream it, I'll tell clients, hey, you know what? We're going to stream this beautiful thing we produced for you for 40 minutes. But then when it's done, we're going to have a Q&A session, and you come back and it's live. I always say 99% of our industry is I acquire content, I edit content, and I distribute content, right? You go to NAB, that's what everybody's doing. With a live streaming company, when we're producing content, we're doing all three of those things at once. So pre-production becomes this highly important thing. And then the actual time we're sitting there and we're going live, we really have to have, a compelling reason. And I always say, the things we've done that I've loved the most are when you really involve your audience and you really use chat in a way. And I think brands are somewhat scared to do this, to be honest with you, because I've been doing live streaming since 2006, so that's 20 years, right? Or almost 20 years. And I've done some really cool interactive events, but it takes a lot of guts to do the type of interactive where you allow the audience. That's what I've always said the future is, right? It's like, hey, we're going to do a live broadcast and we're really going to let the audience tell us where we're going to go. And I think that's going to be the future of live streaming, but I've said that for 10 years, so I'm full of crap. So, like it's just, otherwise I really caution people against going live, because you need, if you're going to take the time to do all that work, you really want to do it for a good reason. And it sounds like I'm telling everybody don't live stream, but again, like most things, if you live stream, you want to talk to your clients, like just use a phone, right? Just use your account, use your platform, talk directly to your clients. And you're seeing more of that. We're actually seeing a lot more of, China is really good at this and has been for almost 5 or 6 years now, where live stream e-commerce, which a lot of us thought would be closer, right? Selling, shopping live. And you're seeing that more and more. But again, I think there are less and less reasons to do a live, especially given the technology. When I'll bring up a really cool thing we did. We did it was the three presidents. So it was President Biden at the time. It was President Barack Obama and President Bill Clinton, and the three of them were in a hotel room, and they were in a campaign event, and they didn't want to live stream it. We ended up live streaming it, but they were worried about, what would be said or whatever. We literally did it an hour and a half before it aired. So an hour and a half before it aired, we encoded everything into the cloud, and we gave their editor, and we were able to put everything in an editing timeline for their team remotely. So then the remote editor could go in, fix anything that was wrong, and then we could immediately play it back and stream it live. And that allowed for the live stream aspect of it, which was, immediacy. It just happened, almost like golf. But also it allowed for, let's call it high-end principles, to make sure that everything they said was what they wanted to say and their messaging was clean. So yeah. I'm a big opponent. I know we're LiveX, but we should be as LiveX.
I love those. Live as live. No, that's a great. Oh, those are great examples. I mean, you really see it. Like you need that. There needs to be a reason there for engagement with somebody. E-commerce, gaming, gambling, right? Those things where like it really depends on. You need to have that interaction, and then you can understand some brands or clients hesitance about being truly live without some level of checks before they go live. So that's those are great examples. Thank
Well,
you.
I do think if you build your culture, it gets easier to do live streaming, right? If you build your culture around video, this is why when I said before, it's so important, because what we found is, hey, we're going to go live, and then they get their CEO on camera, and it is a nightmare. Right. And not that because their CEO is bad, it's just they're not used to being on camera. And so then it becomes this awkward thing that you have to kind of get through, which we've experienced as well. So yeah, I highly couch against, if you create your culture internally in your brand and it's a culture of video, then then kind of the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time today, Corey, on TechConnect. I mean, this has been fascinating. Our audience, we have a lot of Pro AV listeners in our audience, obviously as a manufacturer and software provider in the space, and we have a lot of partners that I know are really fascinated in the stories that you shared with us today. So thank you so much for your time today on TechConnect.
Thanks for having me, David.
If you enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe. Stay connected with us so we can stay connected with you. I'm David Sholkovitz, and this has been TechConnect.